The Collinsville School District's been looking at the digital divide and doing something for the impoverished students who don't have the needed connectivity at home. Private LTE seemed like it might be the key, but I didn't know all the technical details as far as, what kind of range it would cover and how expensive it was to deploy and things like that. And so that's where STEP-CG came in. And then we started working on a plan to build an LTE network for our most impoverished community.
The pandemic has put a glaring hole on what kids have the opportunity to be exposed to.
What that meant for my students was a lack of education access. Parents were having to find a way to drive up to the school to pick up packets. We had teachers and educational staff driving packets to kids' houses because parents didn't have transportation or couldn't get to the school. So there was just an overwhelming lack of educational access.
There's multiple options for students to work from home. A lot of times that's using their parents' cable subscription for internet or satellite or DSL access. And when students work from home, there's a lot of video communication and real-time communication. And there's this, and depending on where you live, you may not have access to any broadband access. This is called the digital divide. Some areas of the economic parts of the community, just nobody's invested in it. So there's no infrastructure. So those students really have a couple options. Go to the wireless carriers and get a MiFi device or some sort of device they can bring home and pay the carriers for every byte of data you use to communicate and try to keep up with the rest of the students that have high-speed internet. And that's been the typical model, really, to solve that problem. And that costs money, and there's also not a lot of control over how you control the usage of that. So making sure content is blocked, for example, that's inappropriate.
One of the biggest difficulties was just the sheer size of this area. How do we build a network that's manageable for me and my limited support staff?
Private LTE kind of comes into this and allows you just to set up 4, 5, 6 different points around the community that sends those radio signals to the house and takes the school network and extends it into those families, and they own the infrastructure and they don't pay anybody. Once they make the investment, the students have a router in their house, they can communicate, and much like they're in the classroom themselves, all the security policies, all the quality of service that every other student is using, everybody gets. So it's kind of fair access and equal access to the instructional programs at these institutions.
This is one of the most attainable ways to really close in on that digital divide, is using resources that communities already have, taking technology that's been tried, true, proven by the carriers for the last several decades, and then utilizing this newly made available spectrum to connect up and use those same resources and provide that carrier-grade network without having to do the full infrastructure build-out, without having to spend millions of dollars on fiber networks or paying ongoing carrier fees.
Our goal with the connectivity, what it does is it provides opportunities for kids to still receive an education, connect with their peers, talk with their teachers, and just interact socially. But the other aspect that this connectivity provides is it allows them in the future, when we're in a normal setting or whatever the new normal is, they can do their homework from home. If they're sick, they can connect with their classmates and their teachers if they have surgery or some kind of outpatient procedure. They can apply for jobs, they can apply for scholarships. But now because of breaking down the connectivity barrier, we've given them the opportunity to seek out other opportunities, grow and expand as a learner in the school setting, but also on their own. And that is a generational changer. And that'll not only impact them, that'll impact their families, and that'll impact future generations as well.
My teachers definitely sleep easier at night now. They have access to their kids, they can check on their well-being. This has made all the difference.